Hey guys, Venomous here, and I got a brand new OTGT for you. Now, I'm talking about spending a lot of time with a particular game, okay? What does that mean, okay? I know there's plenty of games out there that, that have been released and that people almost, tend to, put in almost, 40 to 50 plus hours within that game, okay? Usually find that more with MMOs, usually find that with regular RPGs or JRPGs. Sometimes you even find that with first person shooters and fighting games, any particular type of game that, somebody feels real passionate about will sometimes put in a lot of the extra time into it when they don't necessarily have to, okay? Sometimes they don't, but sometimes they do, but that's another story, okay? Now, I wanted to know, I posed the question, okay, is it really necessary to put a lot of time into a particular game, whether you like it or not? Okay, is it necessary to maybe drop in the 30 or 40 plus hours into it? Now, I know a lot of competitive games, you could really say yes to, because those are games that a lot of people tend to play competitively amongst each other, and you'd like to put, that time into it. But what about games kind of like a regular RPG, for example? Okay, granted, at one point the story ends, okay, and there's plenty of side quests, but then you also have people that are maybe go back and try to do specific things with it, that normally necessarily you wouldn't do on maybe your first or second or maybe even third playthrough of that particular game. Here's a perfect example. Look at Metal Gear Solid, the original Metal Gear Solid. The Metal Gear Solid had the easy difficulty, had the normal difficulty, had the hard difficulty, and they had the European extreme difficulty, depending on what version you got, okay? Now, a person like that, maybe after the first or second time, maybe playing it on easy or normal and then moving up to hard, or maybe one time taking a crack at European extreme, after that they would probably be done with it. But then I know personally guys that are probably going back and playing that game multiple times on different difficulties and stuff, trying to see if they maybe get everything or try to get past a certain difficulty or get certain things before a certain time frame is up and stuff like that, and it's not necessarily that they have to do that, but they're big enough fans to do that. Now, if you're a big enough fan, do you necessarily have to, if you say in order to say that you're a fan of a particular game or a particular franchise or whatever, do you necessarily have to put in all that time into a game? That's what I'm trying to ask you guys, okay? That's what the question I'm posing. It's a question I'm posing. Now, does that also apply to things like MMOs? Now, MMOs, people spend a lot of time. Perfect example is World of Warcraft, which is the big conglomerate of the MMO world now. You also have others that are like Final Fantasy 11, and their expansions and stuff. You got Final Fantasy 14 on the way. You also have Star Wars Galaxies here and there. But the big one is World of Warcraft, and people put ridiculous amounts of time into that game. And necessarily, I pose the question: do they really necessarily have to do that? Okay. Is it really important, to experience everything in the game that much, or have you gotten to the point where you have experienced everything in that game, in the World of Warcraft for the most part? I don't know if anybody really has at this point, but if you have, do you have to go back and do it again, okay? Because, at one point, with regular RPGs, once you play through the story, it's pretty much a wrap. Technically, yes, there are some side quests you could go back and complete, but once you've got all the side quests, once you've gone through the entire game, and maybe you've done it on another difficulty again, multiple times and stuff, so you have to put in extra time into that game. And I just find it funny how some guys are going to do that. Okay, MMOs or the big one, first-person shooters, for example, also. Okay, first-person shooters, it's a competitive game, much like a fighting game and stuff, but also some people go back and actually play, for example, Halo or Call of Duty. They'll go back, get all the achievements, run through, the hardest difficulty, and then maybe do it again and again and again, thinking maybe, it'll probably improve their skill in a multiplayer game or such. But most of the time, usually the bulk is in the multiplayer, whether it's online or offline, doing co-op play or competitive play, things like that. Do you necessarily have to actually, put in all that time to actually, whether you want to be a fan of the game, or is it a necessity because you actually buy that game, you have to put all that time into there? That's the question I'm posing to you guys, okay? But that's just some of my thoughts. Personally, I don't think you have to, but that's just my thoughts. I want to see what you guys think, okay? So anyway, put your comments and video responses. I don't mind. Just keep it civil, okay? Because honestly, I think you don't have to do anything when you buy a game, because remember, you're the one who's purchasing it. For example, if you wanted to and you bought Halo 3 back on release date, paid $180 and never played that game once, that's on you. You could do that if you want to, but I just want to know that if for guys actually playing the game and stuff, or playing games like Monster Hunter, for example, that's fairly new, it's on the Wii, and that game you have to put a lot of time into it to maybe see everything and stuff. But do you necessarily have to do that, or is it really necessary for the game designers to actually make a game like that you have to put in ridiculous amounts of time to actually see everything? So I just want to know what your guys' thoughts on it. Those are mine, okay? I put it out there to you guys. I'm Venomous, I'm out, and that was only the goddamn truth. I'll talk to y'all later.